Hey, this is Ed Robertson, and this is the Mountain and Prairie Podcast, where I introduce you to some of the innovative and creative individuals who are shaping the future of the American West. I meet most of these people through my work in ranch brokerage and land conservation, or through my hobbies and interests that revolve around spending time up high in the mountains. My guests include ranchers, writers, entrepreneurs, conservationists, athletes, artists, adventurers, pretty much anyone who's doing important work and has an interesting story to tell. My guest today is Daniel Vergés. Daniel is an artist and graphic designer who captures the essence of life in the American West through simple yet amazingly impactful paintings and drawings. Like many of my podcast guests, Daniel grew up obsessed with all things Western. But unlike previous guests, Daniel grew up and currently lives in Spain, where he works and creates Western-focused art in his rural studio. His lifelong love of the West was solidified during the time he spent living and working on the Zapata Ranch, a 103,000-acre cattle and bison ranch located in Colorado's San Luis Valley. Despite living so far from the American West now, Daniel's deep love and respect for the landscape, people, and history would make you think he's been here his entire life. Sometimes those of us who live in the West can lose perspective on just what a spectacular place it is. So I enjoyed learning more about Daniel's perspective as someone who does not physically live here, yet is heavily influenced by the West landscapes and culture on a daily basis. If you ever find yourself getting jaded about life in the West, just listen to the way Daniel describes mountains, prairies, ranches, and bison, then take a look at his art, and you'll snap right out of it. Daniel and I had a wonderful conversation that covered everything from life on the Zapata Ranch to his creative process. We chatted about his childhood interest in the West and his impressions of the wide open spaces and wildlife during his first trip to Colorado. We talked about how the West influences his art and how he strives for simplicity in both art and life. We talked about his collaborations with other artists, such as former podcast guest Cameron Dingle, and how these partnerships fuel his creativity. Daniel also talked about how his daily discipline of drawing and his passion for creating have driven his success as an artist. And as usual, we covered books, films, favorite places in the West, and much more. So be sure to check out the episode notes for links to everything. And there's one more piece of exciting news. Daniel created a special painting for the Mountain and Prairie Podcast featuring my favorite animal, the bison. It's a super cool piece, and I'm honored that he took the time to create something so special for the podcast. We discussed it a bit in our conversation, and I loved hearing how Daniel went about creating it. Check out the podcast webpage to see it, and I set up a little online shop where you can buy shirts and hats featuring the art if you're interested. There are links to everything on the website, so go check it out. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Thanks so much for listening. The way that I generally start them out is I ask people, when you meet somebody for the first time, never met them, and they ask, what do you do? How do you answer that?
Probably I would say I'm a graphic designer and maybe an artist in some ways, but mainly a graphic designer. I mean, I have like a small design studio.
And so where are you right now? Where are you in the world? Because this is not the normal podcast where I'm talking to somebody in Denver or Bozeman or something like that. Tell us where you are.
Well, the studio is in Barcelona, here in Spain. But I did move away from the city like some years back. I couldn't live there anymore. But I do have the studio there in Barcelona, yeah.
I want to come back to why you had to leave the city. But first of all, let's just talk about your connection to the American West, because that's how you and I connected, actually through some mutual friends. And so could you just talk about your connection to the West?
I think it started as a little kid first, like the love for the West. And it was through my grandfather that he would just play all these Western films all the time, and I would love it. And I would draw almost the same thing that I draw now, but as a little kid. And it's good because he kept all these drawings and I can see them now, and I can see that I was actually doing very similar things. But then through a friend, I just got to travel to Colorado to this ranch, Zapata Ranch, and then see a bunch of other ranches around there. And throughout a year, I've been coming and going. Like every 2 months, I would go there for a month. So yeah, I fell in love with that.
So can you just explain the Zapata Ranch for people who aren't familiar with it? Can you just talk a little bit about what it is and kind of how you ended up being there?
Well, I went there because of this friend, and well, it's just this crazy, amazing place. It's a ranch. It works as a ranch. They also do like things for guests. I mean, they have people to go there, and you can take part of things there, activities there. But also through this friend, I started working with ranchlands and in doing some things as a designer. I'm still working on a website, but we did a bunch of stuff there, also drawings, because during the time there, I've been doing some kind of painting diary of my time there, and they've been using that. But it just, I guess, like a normal ranch where they have cattle, and well, they work as that.
Yeah, it's a really unique operation. For people who may not be familiar with it, it's kind of at the base of the Sangre de Cristo Range, the southern end, and it's a guest operation. I know they do that, but then they also have some bison on the property, which makes it unique. And I think it's somewhere around 50,000 acres. Is that correct?
I'm not sure of the size. I just know it's. I mean, I think we talk about it as like 7 times Manhattan, something like that. Like,
yeah, it's huge.
It's huge. Yeah, it's really big. I've been all around it, and it's huge. And yeah, they do have like they have horses because of the guests, also for the workers there, like to move cattle and all that. And then in this other side, that's called the Merano, that is right in front of the Great Sand Dunes. There's like 2,000 or 2,300 wild bison living there. And then once a year, they do this bison work where they have to make them go through these chutes, these gates and all that, just to check how they are, to count them and stuff like that. And that's pretty amazing. Like, it's really, really cool.
Those are some really intense animals. I mean, they're so huge and strong. And
one other thing,
yeah, it's really amazing. And one other thing about that ranch that's interesting is that it's actually owned by the Nature Conservancy.
Yeah,
and then they lease out the operations to the Phillips family, who is runs ranch lands, and it's a really unique deal. So, before you had started going over there to that ranch and spending time there, did much of your art and your drawing revolve around the West, or was that when you got there that kind of triggered that interest in your brain?
No, I think it started a bit before that. But as a little kid, I used to do that, and I used to be into things that normal people here in Spain are not into, like country music and the West. But I was into that, like, as a little kid. But then I don't know. I think that at some point it just came back again, and then I started drawing these things. I think it always, that image of the West just kind of made me dream about something. It had something powerful in it, and then I started doing these drawings. So when I met this person and I started going there, a lot of people actually here in Spain, they said, like, man, it's just like if you were drawing what you wanted to happen to your life, and then cool. And then through that it actually happened. Like if you were projecting what you wanted, and but then once I was there, I got a lot more interested on how, like, the real thing, because when I see a lot of like Western painters and all that, like a lot of them they do like they go back into the past, right? Mm-hmm. Like with the natives and all that. But I actually felt a lot more interested into like the ranch life, the real thing, how I was very impressed that that still existed, like the way it does. It was a huge surprise. Like when I would post pictures on Instagram, a lot of friends, they thought I was in some commercial shooting,
a movie set or something.
Yeah, exactly. What they were like, where are you? Where's the shooting? And I was like, this is not a shooting. This is a real place, and they dress like this and they work like this, and most people don't know that still exists the way it does. Like, it was pretty amazing to see and very inspiring for me. Yeah,
that even has hit me. I mean, every time I'm out, like at a branding or something like that, and even though I've been out here and I've been involved with ranches for a really long time, it's that exactly what you said hits me, that nothing much has changed from the late 1800s. I mean, I think they've got, at a branding, they've got vaccines that they're injecting into the animals, and then they've got a gas or a propane torch for heating up the branding iron. But other than that, it's just about the same as it was, and the clothes are the same, and the teamwork is the same. It's really, really neat.
Well, in the brandings I've been, they actually use like wood and fire, normal fire to
Oh,
heat
really?
everything.
Did they really?
It was, pretty much like that. It was an amazing experience. I've been, I don't know, like 7 branding, something like that. And it was a lot of fun. First one is too much, maybe.
Yeah.
But once you start knowing what you have to do, and something that I really liked about that is teamwork. It's in Iran's, there's a lot of teamwork, and I learned a lot from that. I really enjoy that. And branding, it's pure teamwork. In 1-2 minutes, you've got that calf out.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's teamwork, and there are consequences. It's not like playing tennis or something where you just kind of hit the ball back. Like if somebody messes up, there's a good chance somebody's going to the hospital. So it's I always laugh about some of these big companies have these like team building exercises where they do trust falls and things like that. And I think if you sent them out there to a cattle branding in 2 minutes, everybody'd be best friends because you're depending on the other people, and you form these bonds with people that are stronger than some bonds you've had with people for decades. It's really an amazing deal. And I can't imagine how that must have been coming from Europe, where it is just complete, because it's foreign to me. I'm from the East Coast originally. It's foreign to me. I couldn't imagine how it must be to you. What did you think about the wide open landscapes there when you got there? How did that compare to Europe?
I think it leaves you speechless for a long time. Mm-hmm. I had never seen something like that before. No, like the landscape is totally different. And the crazy thing is that at some points you just see flat land, but you start walking and then you find water and trees. Mm-hmm. And you were like, where was this? Like 2 minutes ago, I couldn't see it. It just looks flat, but it's not. Like things happen in the land. But like the open big sky, that was something that really left me speechless, like quite often. Yeah,
I think that's a really good point, what you said about walking along and then finding a little creek with trees. And that a lot of these flat areas in the West, when you're driving down the highway, you just see it, and you're like, that's just a flat prairie for as far as I can see. But there's a lot more diversity to those flat areas than anybody would realize. And the only way to know is to get out there like you did and look around at it.
Yeah, you have to walk, you have to go through, or with a horse or something. And then you see how it changes. And I don't know, I remember like the first time that I was there on a horse, and they said, like, do you see those trees down there? We're going there. And I said, okay, that's fine. And after 2 hours, we were not even close. It was really like, what happens here? Like the distant thing is really different because of how big and flat and like open everything is. It's really hard for people from here to measure those distance. And also you see that a lot of things happen on the land as you move, and it's not as flat and it's not as equal all the time. Then you find sand, and then there's not sand, and there's a lot of rabbit bush or whatever, like it keeps changing, and I really, really like that.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. It's just so wide. Like I said, I'm from North Carolina originally, but when you come out here for the first time and you just see it's hard to understand it's hard to get a perspective on things because everything is so big and wide open. When you think back at all your visits to the ranchlands properties, and I guess just your time in the West, what is there a single experience that sticks out that was kind of the most memorable or kind of the most crazy thing that happened to you while you were out here?
I would say like lots of them, to be honest, almost every day would be like that. Even just waking up in the morning and getting out on the porch and seeing the Sangre de Cristo mountain there and the sun coming up, that was amazing. I think like the first time that I remained speechless for a long time, like not believing what I was, it was being surrounded by wild bison there in the Merno, right in front of the Great Sand Dunes. That was pretty strong. Like that changes you in a way. Also, I would say that in a more crazy way, like running after bison during bison works, that is also like pretty strong. Like it's really crazy to be running after one of these bison, and then all of a sudden one of them turn around and face you, and you go like, man, like, and then you just try to jump somewhere. That was a pretty strong and fun experience also. But just being in the landscape, I would say that even more than all the action taking there, like the brandings or the horse riding and all that, just being there and seeing that still exists, it was like traveling in time. I would say that was the strongest thing for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you've mentioned horses a few times. Did you know how to ride horses before you came over here?
No.
Did you have any crazy experiences with horses? Did you get thrown off or anything?
No. Like, the truth is that nothing happened. Like I would say that I'm a person that I have a lot of fears in me, but I often decide to not pay any attention to that, just go with it. And I felt like I was in very good hands. And I think my first time on a horse, it was almost 5-hour ride. And I had to jump this creek.
Oh, wow.
With a horse because there was ice there. And also I had to gallop. I had to do everything. And I just remember that it's one of the best days in my life.
Really?
And yeah, and I didn't ride a lot there. I did like a lot of time, like to move cattle, like work riding a lot. But I did enough is to see that I had no idea. And so I started riding here. Like now every week I'm going riding and I'm learning, I'm taking lessons and I'm loving it so much. It's great.
Yeah, that's super cool. Horses, we were talking about bison being impressive animals, and the more you get to know about horses, the more impressive they are as well. And
totally in love.
Yeah, I'm not skilled in that at all, but it's whenever I do participate, it's one of those reminders that I don't know a damn thing and that I got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So,
but I see every week how it changes when you start kind of like flowing with the animal, and now I'm starting to be in that point, and it changes my whole week just every time I go ride. And now I do it every week. Like I had to. Like today I spent all my morning there, and it was so much fun. I'm exhausted, but I loved it so much.
That's interesting because I interviewed a guy named Chris Iyer a few weeks back. You may have listened to that one, and he does mule packing up in Montana and horses, and he was talking about a similar thing. How these horses, you get in a flow state with the animals, and they kind of reflect your feelings, and you reflect their feelings, and it kind of turns into this symbiotic relationship between the two animals. And I've just haven't done any of that enough to have reached that state, but. We've got a connection with those animals, it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your art because I love it. And that's kind of how we connected. Could you describe your art? I guess let's talk about your art right first. Let's talk about your art specifically related to the West. How would you describe that art? Cause I'm not a art connoisseur in any way. And so I'm not good at describing it, but I know what I like. And I love your art. So how would you describe it?
I don't really know it. I would probably just say it's simple. There's not much I can say about that. I think someone that actually described it quite good was I had a conversation with Duke Beardsley once. We met in London, and he said that he could see all my graphic design background into like I think that because when you do graphic design and specifically when you're working with logos or with certain things, you have to learn how to simplify things, simplify ideas. I think that is reflected on what I do. I just try to keep it simple. And what I do is because I've learned on my own, like I've never taken any lessons or anything related to that. Yeah. So I just try to, since I started back to do that, I just try to do it every day and be very patient and see how it changes and how it evolves and don't expect much from it. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Like no pressure. It's good because I'm seeing how it's connecting with some people. I get a lot of messages with people saying like, oh, your drawings really talk to me. And I love that. Like it's not the reason why I do it, but it feels great to see that somebody gets it, But at the same time, because as an art director, I had to see a lot of painters, artists, like at the same time, I see what's out there, and I could never consider myself like something like an artist, or I just get a big distance there, with myself.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you never had any sort of training in art. Were you always an artistic kid? Like when you were a kid, were you always drawing and doing art?
I was always drawing. My granddad could see that. So every time I was with him, I remember that he at the same time every day he would say the rest, your siblings can be doing other things. Now you have to sit down and draw. And I would sit down and draw because he told me to. He said you've got something there, you have to use it. I think that I always wanted to be an artist first. I guess that at some point I just heard too many voices saying there's no future for that. What are you going to do? You're just... So I guess I just got lost, and it came back naturally at some point. I cannot help it. I have to do it. So I do it.
And so were you, when you were say after high school and you trying to figure out what you were going to do, did you study art in university or anything like that? Or did you just go work for a graphic designer? How did you make that transition from being a kind of a talented kid to being able to make a living doing it?
I tried to go to university to do art. I went just 1 year. It was great to meet girls. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I didn't really enjoy the classes or the teachers.
Yep.
I always have had some issues with authorities, I guess.
Yep.
And so I didn't really enjoy that. As I said, I met really cool girls and I had a lot of fun during that year, but I didn't see myself there. So I just quit, and then I was lost for a while, I guess. And then I guess I decided to travel a little bit. So I did some traveling, and then I ended up in Costa Rica for a while and just doing other stuff. And at some point it was a friend of mine that just saw things that I was doing, because I through a CD booklet from a music band, I thought what is this? I saw the booklet, I saw the art there, I fell in love with that. I said this is really interesting. So I started seeing who did that, and it was a design studio from London. So I started reading about it, and I bought their books and seeing their website, and that was kind of how I learned everything. Mm-hmm. They were really good. So I tried to copy every single thing they did, privately, just for myself, as to learn as a process. So I spent a lot of hours on my own just learning the software, how to use a computer, how to use everything, and how to design and what it was. And I learned through there. And then a friend saw some of this, and he was into graphic design already, and he gave me a job. And then from there, I just started working in different places and deciding. So
that's really cool that you struck out on your own. And you've probably, I know you listen to the podcast some, and it's kind of half and half with artists between the ones that were formally trained in school and then the ones that had no formal training or started school and quit. Like Teal Blake, for example, he started school and got nothing out of it, so he bailed. And I think, when he looks back at his class roster, he's the only one who actually made it in the art world. And so, and I think he's got that I think it's a gift of questioning authority. I don't think it's a problem. I think that's good. And so can you talk about Slow Artworks, your current company?
Yeah. The thing is that I ended up working in advertising for whatever reason. That happens sometimes. Somebody came with a good idea, and I never wanted to do advertising really, but this person was interesting, so I started working on that. And then I went from one agency to another. I would normally last 1 year in each place, because that's the time that it takes me to get bored. And until I ended up in a place that it was good enough that I stayed there for almost 4 years. But I kept meeting with this friend of mine, and we had the same complaints about things. And one thing that I don't like is complaints. I always feel okay, if there's something, you have to do something about that.
Yep.
So in one of our talks, we said okay, if in 1 year we still have the same complaints about how these big companies work, we'll just quit everything and we'll just start on our own. And that was in 2011.
Okay.
And we did that, and because we wanted to keep it slower in the way that, not that we're going to be slow at just doing our work, but we want to give attention to details. We want to enjoy the process. To me, creative process is everything. Mm-hmm. If you make that richer, the final product is going to be a lot better. That's the way I see it. Mm-hmm. So we managed to actually make that work. I don't think we'll ever be rich, but we pay everything. Two families are good with that. Like, the project is working all right, and we're getting to meet a lot of cool people all around, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So it sounds like that you in the past you would get a little antsy or bored at times, which is completely understandable. And I do the same thing. And I think a lot of creative people have that. How do you, now that you're working for yourself and you've got this agency doing what you do, how do you keep it fresh or keep it from getting boring? I mean, is it because you're in control of the projects you take on, and then I guess the second part of that question is, how do you kind of keep pushing yourself artistically? Because I would think it would be real easy to get in a rut and just kind of do the same thing over and over and over, because like, I can make money doing this. How do you have any specific ways to kind of push yourself outside of your creative comfort zone?
I think at this point of my life, I can really tell that it's my whole body who dictates that. Like a long while, like I used to work in advertising, and then I did like a creative project apart from that, and everybody saw that as very successful. I was making a lot of money, working lots of hours, just being started with all that. And then I started having anxiety issues. Mm-hmm. And so that made me rethink the whole thing. And what I've seen is that I cannot cheat on myself in a way that if I'm not, I need to feel passion to what I do.
Yep.
And I love what I do. So if the project is not good because it doesn't give me that, we normally don't do it. Sometimes if we have to do it for whatever, because it's smart to do it, we can work with other people to make that happen. But I think it's naturally me that I want to do things. And in my job, I can take pictures, I can make films, video, websites, logos, I can draw, I can paint, I can go to places, decorate a store, or, like, there's so much I can do. So we try to keep it diverse as much. I mean, so much that a lot of people ask us, what do you do? I've been in your website and I still don't understand what you guys do. Mm-hmm. And I actually like that. I enjoy that. When I hear that, I go like, okay, it's good. That's what I want. Like, I don't want it any other way, because if it was just one thing, I couldn't do it. I would get totally bored.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's super cool you're self-aware enough about that, because I think a lot of people feel anxiety or don't like what they're doing, but don't really do anything about it. It's like you're talking about the complaining is a waste of time. So it sounds like it was a process to figure it out, but it sounds like you're at a good spot with it now. One other question about the creative process. You hear writers talk about writer's block. I have writer's block. I can't write, blah, blah, blah. Do you ever have, creative block? And if so, how do you get through it? How do you push yourself through that?
I wouldn't say it happens in my I mean, probably there are times that you don't feel as inspired, but normally you just have to do it, and I don't know, I guess that it's just by sitting down and going through it. And what we try to do at Slow Art Works is we try not to be all the time in front of a computer. Mm-hmm. That's key to us. So whenever we feel like something is not working good, normally, and this is going to sound weird for a design studio, but normally we just go to this place and buy wood and then start building things with wood. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of our logos have started to be made in wood prior to be on a computer. Mm-hmm. And it's just to change the approach to it. Like we try to keep it fun. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't really happen. Or if we see ourselves that we're just repeating ourselves, then we do something like that. We try to break it. It's good that we're two, at least two people. Normally we're three, but most of the time we're two, because if it's not one, it's going to be the other one that's going to be pushing the other one. It's good when to have someone to discuss things, and for me, it's really, really important that somebody can sit on my next to me and go like, "Have you tried blue?" Like, I don't know, just give you a different point of view or whatever. Like it pushes you, and for me it works. And I don't know, like maybe in art could happen more. Like I'm a lot less confident when it comes to painting, but on design, I feel all right with that. Like I don't feel. I mean, I feel pretty confident about what I do.
Yeah, well, it shows. I mean, the work speaks for itself, and I mean, it's. I've talked to enough creative people, and I've done, just a little bit of writing or whatever I do. I have a bit of an appreciation for how damn hard it can be, and all the work that goes into the finished product. But I mean, coming from you can take it for what it's worth since it's come from me, but your art speaks for itself. I love it. I think it's so awesome and it's so unique.
Thanks so much.
yeah, it's 100% true. I want to back up real quick to, you said you lived in Costa Rica for a while, and I lived there as well for a year. So where did you live there?
I lived in a really small village called Puerto Viejo.
Where is that?
Puerto Viejo, it's a bit south from Limón. It's in the Caribbean area.
Yep.
And at that time, I was 21 when I went there. It wasn't where the tourists were invited to go. I mean, the government would just invite you to mainly go to the Pacific side of Costa Rica at that time. When I went there, like, there was only one telephone in the whole area, no doctors or anything. It was pretty wild. And it was actually a really good experience because it was in that time that we were just complaining about having bad jobs and the city and the chaos and all that. And I didn't want to be one more of these people just complaining about things. Mm-hmm. So my girlfriend's dad was traveling around there, and he decided to set base for a little time there in Puerto Viejo, and he sent some pictures through on his letters. And I said, like, why don't we just go there and try it out and see what's there? So we just saved a little money, not much, and we went there. We actually built a Spanish restaurant.
Oh, really?
There. Yeah, and we just, the cool thing about there is that, at least at that time, you learn how to live day by day and not think about anything else. Mm-hmm. But it comes natural. Like, there's a moment that somebody said, like, hey, are you planning on going back or something? And you're not thinking about anything else. You were like, when? What do you mean? Like, you're just living day by day. You just make the money for the day. You go to the beach. You try to learn some surfing. You just swim. I don't know, like go fishing or whatever. It was a good experience. But after a few months there, I actually felt like I had retired from life, and I was only 21. And I was reading all these books, and like from Paul Auster, I remember at that time. And then I started missing like what was going on in the city. I was like, okay, it's not the right time. So at a certain point, I just came back.
Yeah, I had a similar experience when I was there. The kind of timelessness of the place. Every day I was on the Pacific Coast, but every single day was exactly like the day before. I mean, the sun comes up at 6, it goes down at 6. I mean, because you're so close to the equator, it's, it's hot as hell every day. I mean,
yeah.
And it's really neat in some ways, but I had the same experience by the time, when it came time for us to leave, I was ready to go. Because, I just wanted to do more, and I wanted, I felt like I was, it's easy to see how somebody could get kind of sucked into living there, because it is kind of a time warp, and you wake up and you've been there like 15 years or something. And it was a very formative experience for me. The simplicity of life down there was great, and it was something that I'd never experienced. Was that the same for you? Pretty simple living?
It was pretty simple living, yeah. But I just remember nature, how it made me feel very small. That was also that was actually similar to what happened to me when I went to the West. That you're small, you're really small there. Like you just realize how small you are. And in Costa Rica, it happens that everything is stronger than you. Like even a small ant can actually kill you by biting you, or or that little snake, or the waves. The sea was so powerful there, or the storms. Like everything was really, really strong, and I really enjoyed that. But it was for a time. It was a very hippie village there. It was fun. It was slow, but at some point it was too much. Like of that at that age, I needed more. I needed a lot more then.
Yeah, I was in the exact same boat. I thought the exact same thing, and it's definitely a great experience. But I was glad to get back to. I just have to be. I have to be really busy. I have to be doing a lot. Not busy in a like frivolous kind of bullshit way, but busy. Doing doing a lot of projects that I'm passionate about. So, and speaking of projects. Tell me about your collaboration with Cameron Dingle, because I had her on the podcast a long time ago. She was so nice to come on fairly early on, and she is super cool and has this kind of slow living attitude, which I think works well with your slow artworks. And so how did you guys connect? What are you guys working on together? Because I know a lot of your artwork is based on some of her photos, correct?
Yeah. I think at some point we started talking naturally through, I guess, Instagram, because there's something about her pictures that really, really touch me. Like it's, I don't know, like so far, like it's how I would like a picture to look like. I don't know how to really explain that. And sometimes there are things that are really small, but that make me think of a lot or feel a lot. I'm a very emotionally sensitive person, more than super rational. And those images kind of bring a lot to me, and I really enjoy that. And I think at some point we were talking, and she said something about like maybe doing a drawing of some of her pictures, or that I could use them for that. And so I started doing that, and I know she was happy about it, and we actually did sell some prints together. And it's not the purpose of it. Like it's just to tell some kind of story. And then at some point we actually started talking about like maybe in the future trying to do some kind of book about the West together, like approach to how the West is right now, not like historic thing, but like now how it is. I don't know, it's something that I would really like to do, like trying to have some kind of purpose behind it. And I don't know, communication with her always has been super nice. Like I think she's the nicest and super talented. I really love her work.
Yeah, I do too. That conversation we had was really great and inspiring in a lot of ways. The life that she's built for herself over there in Teton Valley. And if people haven't listened to that interview, I think you should definitely go back and listen, because she's not only talented, but just really seem her approach to just life and creativity and the West and conservation. It's all amazingly kind of calm and even keeled. And I need to hang around people like that more often. I'm kind of the opposite.
Okay.
So, in your life as a creative, have you had any mentors or heroes, whether that's in painting or drawing or just, writers, musicians? Are there any people that you can look to and say that person influenced my work for the better? And it could be people or don't know, people that are alive or dead. Does anybody come to mind on that?
There's a lot of people I follow because I like a lot. Like many of them have been on your podcast already, like Luke Bursley or Mark Maggiore. I think he's amazing.
Yes.
But it's not really neither what I do or what I want to do. Like, well, I wish I could actually be able to do something like that, but it's not how I express myself. But I really like just to see their work. But I don't know. Like I try to keep it very as personal as I can, like in terms of when I'm talking about the art, like the drawings. In terms of design, I think that this guy from that studio that I told you, Tomato from the UK, this guy Simon Taylor, I considered him like my teacher, my mentor in design. But in terms of drawing, I just sit every single evening, and make myself paint or draw or whatever, and try to keep it as personal as possible. And if sometimes I go through Instagram and I find someone that it looks a bit similar or something like that, I just try to keep it as away as I can, because I feel uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
Because I like how personal it feels when you move a brush yourself. I think it's always unique, and I don't like when aesthetically or whatever it looks a bit similar. So I don't want to know about it.
Yeah, I think that's smart, and other artists that I've talked to have said the same thing. Like Jillian Lekuski, she stays
great.
away. She doesn't look at any other silversmiths online because she doesn't want that to get in her head. And I think that's smart, because that stuff does soak in. You know, it soaks in even if you don't want it to, and it can influence you in one way or the other. When you look back at your art, say like you look back 10 years ago, well, how would you say that your art has changed over the course of those 10 years?
I think it's a little less wild in terms of, because most of the paintings and drawings that I do, I have no idea how I do them, or I normally don't really like what I do, but sometimes I find some of these paintings and go like, oh, I really like this one, but I look at it and I have no idea how I've done it. Like, I always feel like it's been a coincidence, like it's been luck, like that the brush went there instead of there. You know, like,
Yeah.
I can't really say like, oh, Danny, really good how you control this. I never feel like I do have the control there. And this has changed a little bit over the time, in terms of that with some techniques, especially with watercolor, I feel like I do have a little bit more control now than I used to. And it's something that I like and that I don't like at the same time, because there was something so fresh at the beginning of those drawings that I miss in a way. I actually like when I use materials not in the way that they're supposed to be used. So now I'm trying to change and use other materials as well, like acrylic. I had never used that before, and so I'm trying to change and just keep it moving.
Do you get that? That makes perfect sense. Do you get that feeling, like say when you're working with acrylics that you're not as used to working with? Do you have that feeling of like, I have no idea if this is going to be good or bad, we'll just see what happens, similar to when you were doing watercolors in the earlier years?
That happens all the time. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. A lot of the drawings I start in, and the truth is that lots of them just end up broken, you know, like this didn't work. But some of them you start and you have no idea how they're going to end. And also something that I try to put, like from some time to now, it's color. I had never used color before, and I always felt like I was super bad with color. But then recently I've got quite a few people telling me like, oh, I love the colors you're using, and I'm enjoying it. It's I like not when I don't feel like really secure about what I do. Like, I like that there's something that I don't control there. I like that a lot.
So we've mentioned social media a few times, and you and I connected that way, and you've connected with a lot of your other artist friends that way, and I think there's a lot of positive to it. But how do you manage that so that it's not interfering with being a distraction from your creativity? I mean, some artists I've had on here said that, they have all the notifications on their phone turned off, or they only look at it certain periods of the day. Do you find social media to be a distraction as much as it is a positive influence?
I think to me, it depends 100% on how I am at that moment. If I'm well at that moment, the use of everything that's surrounding me is good. If I'm not well, then you find yourself overdoing it, or, like not using it the right way. I think that Instagram, it's mainly the only one that I use. It's great. Like it connected me to a lot of really, really great people. But not so long ago, I had to restart all over because I was getting lots of messages that were uncomfortable for me. And I didn't deal well with that. So I just deleted everything. That's how I do things sometimes.
All or nothing. That's how I do it.
Yeah. You're like, oh, what is this? I hate it, and I just deleted everything. And then you just go what? Just go back to it and go like, oh, shut up, Danny. Like this was good. It was you that you were not in the right spot at that moment.
Yeah.
So you learn from it, and I don't know, like the truth is that also like through a lot of your podcast, I actually learned a lot of things about not only social media but how to deal with your mind, your brain better, and that has a full effect on how you use social media thing. So when you're well and you use it well, and if you're not well, then you know you're not going to do it well. So you're allowing yourself to stop because you've been there before. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense to me. Maybe we're both crazy as hell, so we understand what each other's talking about. And all the sane people listening will not understand, but I completely understand. Well, that's really interesting. So one more thing about the art real quick, and it's the thing I'm most excited about is the piece that you designed for the podcast, which I think is awesome. And again, I can't do it justice, so I'll have pictures of it online. And also we're going to be selling some, I'm going to put it on some shirts and hats and stuff like that. So when people love it, they can get it. But can you just describe kind of how you came up with that design? Cause I love it.
It wasn't that hard in the way that you said you wanted to talk about something that was the West, but it wasn't too cowboy. It wasn't too anything, but mainly West. And so you suggested bison, and I love bison. Like I just fell in love with that animal so much. And I've got a lot of pictures of bison. I love taking pictures, and in my time there, I had the chance to do that. So I guess I just tried to do something that was more as what I was telling you at the beginning, like kind of a crazy watercolor, just being kind of fast, but that it had some emotion in it. To me, it's really important that I see the drawing and I don't see something dead or something that doesn't talk. I need to have some. Maybe it's only me sometimes, but I need to get that. And with that drawing, I felt like it had it, and that's why I sent it to you. I mean, I was so happy that you actually reached me out to do this collaboration, and even more when you said like let's work on a bison. So yeah. It was just a couple evenings looking at pictures of bison and trying to be super fast, not really technical, but fast, like something that would capture that. Yeah.
No, it's great. And I love bison. And at the time I didn't fully understand your connection with bison. I didn't know I knew you were associated with ranch lands, but I didn't know it was at Zapata Ranch. And so you can tell by looking at it that you're very familiar with bison. It's a great photo, and it's, I think when we were initially emailing, I was saying, yeah, and you can have some mountains in there and a river, and then you sent me the picture of the bison. I was like, this is perfect. He read my mind, and it's just, like all your work, it's very, very simple, but it tells a big story, and you can look at it and your brain can go in a million different directions. And I love it. So I'm so thankful that you did that for me. And I know other people are going to love it too. So
no, thank you. I mean, it's true that I do prefer it when people have to imagine parts of the drawing. Like it happens a lot that people just like put this and this and this and this. But the truth is that I feel like if you see that drawing, you don't need the mountain because you're seeing it. Like the same way that you could be seeing clouds or more bison around. I think you're seeing it. I think that through design, I learned that white is not empty. And that's very Japanese. Yeah. But I think like, most of my personal education in design comes from Japanese books. So I give a lot of importance to the white as something that is not empty, but is actually saying things.
That's interesting that you said a lot of your design has some Japanese philosophy in there, because there's some quote, and I'll butcher it, I'm sure, but it's something about, an item, something is perfect, not when you can add more to it or after you've added more to it, but when you can take nothing else away from it. And, and I feel like simplicity, making things simple, is a lot harder than making things complex, whether you're talking business, whether you're talking art, anything, running, you see people out running with all these satellite watches and fancy shoes and fancy socks and this and that. And then, some of the best ultra runners, they go out in shoes and shorts and that's it. And so I feel like that striving towards simplicity is something I'm really interested in. And I think it's reflected in your art. Are there any specific books or certain people with this in Japanese philosophy that you could recommend? Do any come to mind?
Well, there's 2 books that I think that I really enjoyed reading and that affected my approach to these things. One is called In Praise of Shadows. I don't know if you've heard about it.
No, I haven't.
It's from a guy called Junichiro Tanizaki, and I love it. Like it's very Japanese approach to certain things, like getting away from bright, shiny things, and it's really, really interesting. It's very short. It's super fast to read, but I think it's really interesting. And there's another one that's called Wabi Sabi for artists, designers, poets, and philosophers. And I think it's one of the worst titles ever for a book, but the book makes a lot of sense. And the Wabi Sabi concept of like beauty that changes with the time, is affected by time. I really like that.
There's a guy that I really admire. He's an author and kind of a thought leader in marketing, and his name's Seth Godin, and he's written some of the most influential books that I've read. He's just amazing. But I've heard him talk a lot about wabi sabi, and so that's not a new word to me. But I didn't realize that there was a book about it. I'd heard him speak about it, but just the concept in general. So I'll definitely check that out. I never heard of either of those. Thanks. Well, so one other question about art, and then I've got some quick questions I'd like to run through. But so you figured out a way to kind of make it doing art on a daily basis, and it seems that you've got a life you're enjoying and work you're enjoying. For people who are listening to this, who are maybe just now coming out of school and would like to be able to pursue art and make a living doing it, do you have any advice to them?
I never felt really good about giving advice about anything related to this. But I know that in my experience that I thought I couldn't do it, I couldn't make it, and I always felt like very insecure about it. I would just say go, definitely. The things that I've learned in this life is that nothing really matters that much in the sense that just go and do whatever you want to do, because there's no security on anything. And that is just an image. It's a lie. And I think that makes a lot of people take a lot of decisions because they think that there's some security to whatever. And I don't believe in it at all. So just do whatever you want to do and enjoy it. And it's going to be tough and it's going to be hard. And that's also part of the process. And that's fun. So, I would only say that, I guess.
That makes sense. And I think maybe that loops back into some of the Japanese philosophy because, when you think about some of the Eastern religions, I'm thinking about Buddhism in particular, but the whole thing is that there is no security and there is no, nothing ever, everything's always changing. There's no such thing as security. So it seems it can be a scary concept if you just hear that and don't really think it through. But if you really think it through, it's kind of a freeing concept, actually.
Well, and sometimes it's not even something you just think about, but things happen in life, often like really bad things. You lose someone you love, whatever, like things, and then you just face that completely. And then you realize that's the way it is. Like this person was trying to do all these things and now he's gone. Like that doesn't exist. Like it's a good thing that he was doing the right thing. And he was not doing certain things because of security, because now he's gone. Like death a lot of times brings that, but there are a lot of experiences in life that just put you through that. And then it's our responsibility to learn from it and do something about it. So it's scary. As I said, like I'm a guy that can be scared of so many things and have a lot of fears and whatever, but I try to just face it and do what I think makes me happy and that it's going to also work for my son. Like it's when you have a kid, a lot of things change as well. And, like you just put that into the equation, I guess. But but with that concept in mind, that it doesn't matter. Like, even if you go like, oh, now I have to do this because I have a son and I have the responsibility, whatever. Like, I don't know. Life's already taught me that that doesn't work. That doesn't exist. So just whatever you do, just really go for it. And just put passion in it. And I guess something good comes out from it.
How old is your son?
It's 10. He's 10.
That is quite a life changer, huh? I've got a almost 3-year-old and then a 3-month-old today, actually, and so it's I'm fairly new to it, but it's amazing how it changes your perspective, and it's such a cliche, and people who don't have kids, they hear that and they're like, yeah, whatever, that's cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. It's a really cool deal.
Oh, yeah. Life is never going to be the same. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but we've already been talking almost an hour, which is crazy. I feel like we just started. But can I run through some kind of quick questions with you that I ask everybody? Do you have any favorite books related to the West? And then second part of that is just any of your favorite books in general.
Related to the West, I really don't know. I recently did read The Glass Castle. It's the name of it.
Who is that? Ivan Doig?
Glass Castle. Jeanette Walls.
Yeah, somebody. So several people have recommended that one on this podcast, but I have not read it yet.
It's a true story. Like, she's a journalist actually, and she talks about her childhood and how she was raised and all that. And I really enjoy it. I know there's like a second book that talks more about like the grandmother. And I can't wait to read it because I really enjoyed the way it was written. It was, so I enjoyed this one a lot. It's somehow, related to the West, I guess. And there's another book that's actually like a book for kids, but I think adults can like it as well. And now that you have like little kids, I think if you don't know it, you should definitely get it. It's called The Wolves of Kurrumpau.
Mm-hmm. I have not heard of that.
No, Wolves of Kurrumpau. It's just a kid's book, but it's a really nice story. I don't know. I found it's really interesting. I think it comes from a story that was originally published in 1898.
Oh wow!
And now this guy William Grill just did like a new version of it with really nice pencil drawings. I really like that. Also, as books that have been important for me, I guess, Walking by Thoreau. From Henry David Thoreau.
Yes,
that book was really important to me. That was also one of those books that change you. And My Family and Other Animals. While I was growing, that book that was also very important. Do you know that book?
I don't know that book. These are all I haven't read any of these. That's awesome.
Well, Thoreau. I mean, you have to be a bit into him. Like, there's some bits that I like about him, but I don't know. I like how he gets really radical about certain things because I feel almost like he's joking, because also when I read some of his diaries, I could see a lot of contradiction that just make him really human. And I like that. And in his books, I think he just pushes you a lot because I think he wants you to go just half the way. So he goes to the extreme. So he makes some effect on it. And that book, I think it's an important one. And My Family and Other Animals, it's just this guy, Gerald Dorrell, while he was growing up in this place in Greece, and how he would relate to nature and all the little animals around. It's a great book, especially while growing up, I think.
Those are great. I'll have links to all those on the webpage. Do you have any favorite documentaries or films?
Well, I love Western films, like since I was a little kid. So is in terms of Western, like almost anything that comes out. Like, I really like all these that came recently. Like, what's his name? I don't remember his name. Taylor Sheridan. He was the writer for Hell or High Water.
Oh yeah.
And he directed Wind River. I really like that one.
Oh, that was really good. That's come up several times on the podcast. I love that one.
Yeah, I really like that one. And there's actually a really good quote in that one. I also saw recently Hostiles. That was a tough one to watch.
Was it good? I haven't seen it yet, but I want to see it.
pretty tough. It's pretty tough. It's not easy to watch.
Really, but it's worth it. You'd recommend it?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And last night, is some kind of coincidence. I was trying to watch something on Amazon, and I saw this documentary called Charged.
Oh yeah, that I had Becca Skinner on the podcast, and Becca is engaged to him, Eduardo, and I don't know him personally, but I hope to get him on the podcast. Actually, I haven't seen it. It looks awesome.
I mean, that's the coincidence, because Becca recently, we started talking because we might be working on a thing together.
Oh, cool.
And so I saw some images of him on her Instagram. That's why when I was on Amazon Prime, I was watching that, and I saw the face, and I said, like, is this the same guy? Mm-hmm. And then it came the Eduardo, I don't know his surname now, but I saw Eduardo Garcia story, and I watched it last night. I have to say I cried a lot.
Really?
It's gonna make you cry. But
I want to see it.
I loved it, and there's some really big important moments there that, I don't know, also about vulnerability, because you see how strong he is about certain things, but then how he also allows you to see, I'm actually sad, and you have to go through sadness. I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think it's an important documentary. I liked it.
Good. Well, yes, I want to see that. Definitely. It's on my list. Cause I'd love to have him on the podcast too. He just seems like a real, positive, energetic guy, talented chef, the whole deal. So other than art, what do you do for fun? I know music's really important to you, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I play guitar and I sing a little bit. I learned to play banjo, and I enjoy that as well. I recently, like a few months back, I started running, which it's something that has changed so many things for me, because I would have never seen myself as someone that would go out and run. And I think I started because I was going through really hard times, and I needed something that was even more painful than that. So I started running to have a bigger pain. But the whole process, it's been amazing. And now I go every week, like as much as I can, like almost every day I go out and run. And I rope. I practice roping,
nice.
Which is really strange here. But I remember Kate teaching me there in Zapata Ranch, and great teacher. And it's something that I want to keep doing. I don't want to forget. So I actually got quite good when I'm working with just like a wooden calf,
sure.
like a dummy. But I do it almost every day, almost as some sort of meditation. Because when I get down there in the garden and I start roping, I'm just like really focused on that. I don't allow any thoughts in my brain. It's fun.
That is fun, and it's hard too. I wish I could say I was good at it, but it's so hard. Well, I bet you get some funny looks.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, some neighbors have seen me around and go like, "What the hell? What are you doing? What is this? Why are you roping?" They don't get it. I don't care. Seriously.
That's cool. So when you think back to your time out west, or just really your time anywhere, and your time outdoors and any outdoor adventures you've had, is there one? You already kind of alluded to this with your experience with the bison, but are there any other powerful experiences you have? Like when you think about it, you're like, that was the most powerful outdoor experience I've ever had, and it could be scary or funny or just intense. Or were the bison ones that we talked about earlier, were those them?
Well, but those bison ones were really important, but I think Cato also took me to a lot of places around Colorado that were really special. Like nature, they were so powerful that all those places made an impact on me. But in terms of scary, I would have to say it was in Costa Rica. I did something that wasn't really smart. That was I got inside the sea while this big storm was there. Huge waves. You could only see two guys surfing around because it was really dangerous. Mm-hmm. And then the waves started getting really crazy. Like they lost like the order. Like there was like waves just crashing on top of other waves.
Yep.
And I found myself in there. And then one wave just took me down, and I started hitting my head on the bottom. And then I didn't know where to go or where I was. It was just moving me and moving me and moving me. And I was down there. I couldn't escape anywhere until this guy that saw everything just jumped there and took me out. And he was a Canadian guy. And we actually became like best friends. We still talk sometimes. And he actually saved me there.
Do you think you'd be dead if he hadn't been there?
I don't know, but I remember just being down there and having no idea. Like I couldn't see anything, like all the sand moving there, and I hit my head like 3 times. But I remember that he took me out, and I think I had to be laying on the beach for almost an hour before I could actually start walking.
Wow.
My whole body was exhausted. That was pretty scary.
Yeah, that's scary. That's about as scary as it gets. People who don't surf don't fully understand how powerful that ocean is. And, head high waves can put you in a place that you've never been. And, I grew up as a lifeguard. I used to do a lot of triathlons. I thought I was a good swimmer. And when I got to Costa Rica, I learned I didn't know a damn thing about swimming. I mean, and about water, anything. And it is humbling and very, very scary.
Yeah.
I'll just start a second podcast talking about surfing, because every podcast somehow surfing ends up coming into this podcast about the American West.
Yeah.
So thinking about your travels around the world and around the West, do you have a favorite location that comes to mind? And it could be in the West, or it could really be anywhere, given your diverse experiences traveling. Is there a certain town or like a river valley or a mountain, just somewhere that comes to mind as like my favorite place?
I don't know. I mean, I've been in many places, and actually even near here, like in the Pyrenees, I love it there. But I have to say that after being there, San Luis Valley, that's become like one of the best places I've seen. Like I just have like great memories from it. I love it. I just, as I told you before, like I felt at home there, which is really weird because it's actually very different from anything I had seen before. But yeah, I love it there.
Yeah, that's a special place. Those mountains are steep. They just come straight up out of that valley, and there's a lot of history there. It's a really neat place. This is a hard question, but what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, I don't know if I can say which one is the best. Yeah. I can think of 2 right now. Like one was a few months back. As I said, I was going through some hard times, and I was talking with this really good friend, and I said, like, I'm having some problems at night. I can't really sleep. Like, I'm so worried. I'm so sad. This is really eating me. And I said, and I started running, and I'm trying to do things, but still it's hard. Maybe I should take something to sleep. And she actually looked at me and said, like, run more. Mm-hmm. And it was so simple, but I started running more. And I think it applies to other things as well. So I really liked hearing that one because it made me feel stupid, but it worked. Mm-hmm. And another one that actually comes from that film that we talked before, Wind River. There's a scene where the main character is talking with his best friend who just lost his daughter. And he tells him, well, you're never going to be the same, that's for sure. But if you allow all the sadness, if you allow that, if you don't avoid it, you'll be able to get back to the good memories, to just get back to that. Mm-hmm. And I wish at some time I had that advice told, because I think it's like that. And I think it applies to a lot of other things as well, not only to just losing someone.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think that idea of leaning into it is very powerful. It's hard. I mean, it's simple for somebody to say it, but it's very hard to execute it. But I think that's a very powerful way to live your life. I mean, I do the same thing. I mean, I think that's great advice. I need to get that like tattooed on my arm or something to remember it though.
No, because I think there's this thing about sadness, like you're not allowed to be sad. And sometimes you have to be sad.
Yep.
It's like something sad happened, like don't avoid it, face it, be strong, grow from it. And then, and then you'll be able to move. But don't try to put it in the back, and not look at it. But I think society often tries to tell you that, like, you're sad, you're boring, get out. Like, oh, that's not good. That's not. I think that's not real. So I think it's really good advice.
Yeah, and on a kind of a basic level, if you're not ever sad, then you're never really going to be happy. I mean, if you're happy all the time, then that's the baseline, and nothing is. You would get used to it. I think being sad every now and then, makes the good times better. I think.
Yeah.
So this is next to the last question, but if you could make a request of the people that listen to this podcast, and it's people, just like you who love the West and have a connection to it in one way or the other. They may not live here, but they love it, and they express that love either through art or through athletics, through ranching, conservation. If you could make a request, offer some words of wisdom. I know you said you don't like giving people advice, but
No.
I want to hear it. What would that be?
I don't think I could say anything. The truth is that also, like, after listening to a lot of the people that you had on your podcast, like, now I could say Sarah King, I think, was one, or Charles Bosch. Like, I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of good around there, like trying to take care of all that. I just have admiration to all that people and how it's going. I don't think I could say anything. I think you've got a really special place there, and I think you're actually taking care of it. So,
well, I think your work is contributing to that. I love it, and it's just so cool. The first time I saw your work, just came across it on Instagram. I figured it was somebody lived in Montana or something, and then as I dug in, I realized that you're not even on this continent, but you've got this deep love for the West and these rich experiences out here. And I think you bring a really unique perspective to all of it. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. It was super fun.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's Ed again. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast, and thanks for listening to that particular episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Before you go, I've got 3 quick things. Number 1, if you like the podcast, please do me a huge favor. Either pass it along to a friend who may be interested, share it on your social media, or go to iTunes and give it a 5-star review. All those things would mean a lot to me, and they would really help to spread the word about the podcast. Number 2, if you've listened to many of these episodes, you know that I love reading and I love talking about books. Every other month, I send out a quick email with a few books that I've recently read and highly recommend. The subjects are varied, but they're pretty much all nonfiction with an emphasis on history, biographies, adventure narratives, and topics related to the American West. There are no sales pitches for ranches, no spam, no other kind of nonsense, just books. So if you'd like to sign up for the list, head to Mountain and Prairie/reading, or just go to Mountain and Prairie and there's a massive tab at the top that says book recommendations. Click on it. There are a ton of good books that I've read. Some of the old email lists are on there. You can go crazy. There are a lot of books. And finally, if you know anyone I should interview for the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. All my contact info is at mountainandprairie.com, and I'm on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. So feel free to reach out. I'd love to have some recommendations and suggestions of interesting people I should meet. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.